Hey everyone, welcome to the channel and another Energon Universe Discussion video. The subject of today's video is the recently released Cobra Commander number 3, the third issue of 5. The second issue left off with Cobra Commander falling into the forbidden swamp out past the Dreadnoks territory with alligators that apparently have been mutated by Energon circling him. This whole thing with the Energators doesn't last long, with the Dreadnoks Xandar, Zarana's twin brother, fishing Cobra Commander out of the swamp and bringing him back to Dreadnok HQ to figure out who he is and who he works for. This torture sequence takes up a substantial portion of the issue, but it's where a ton of character development for Cobra Commander lies and is, in fact, some of the most effective and engrossing characterization we've seen so far for our title character. We've already seen that the Energon Universe version of Cobra Commander is dangerous and violent, and while he's not above getting directly in the mix or executing chumps with a pistol, by his own admission he prefers to let others do the fighting for him. And oh man, do we get to see that in action in this issue. First with Cobra Commander manipulating the Dreadnoks and turning them against each other, and later when we see his bodyguard again. During the torture sequence there's a page loaded with time jumps as different members of the Dreadnoks have a go at getting Cobra Commander to spill the beans. In between torturing the commander, the Dreadnoks conversed amongst themselves, and while we're not shown all the information that will ultimately come out later on, we're given enough of these seemingly incidental details that pave the way for Cobra Commander's deception, as he astutely identifies where there are tensions in the gang's dynamic and exacerbates that discord with unsettling ease. One instance of it is a callback to Buzzer's original bio, which states that he was a sociologist who became obsessed with biker gangs while researching them, and Cobra Commander uses this gossip he overhears from Xandar to provoke a confrontation between Xandar and Buzzer. And all of this is occurring while he's confined and being subjected to torture. And that shows us that this Cobra Commander is a lot tougher than he might seem. The commander takes whatever the Dreadnoks can dish out and gives nothing in return. No information, no pleas for mercy, not even any sounds of pain. Through his indomitable will, he resists the Dreadnoks' best attempts to break him. The interrogation almost seems like it's more torture for the Dreadnoks. You get the sense that they don't run into this kind of thing a lot. Remember, issue 2 opened with the Dreadnoks torturing some poor souls, a sequence that established them as comfortably in control and powerful on their territory. Here, however, Cobra Commander is in control, and he never seems to relinquish it, even for a second. And he really seems to get to the Dreadnoks. There's something chilling and magnetic about a fictional villain that maintains control and power in situations where it seems like they should be powerless, helpless, and at the mercy of their captors, as if they've always got a contingency plan and are unbreakable and ultimately untouchable. That chilling effect is heightened by the superficial damage left on the commander's mask by Torch, as well as the smiley face drawn by Ripper using the title character's own blood. This is so comic booky, and I dig it, making the commander seem even more sinister and creepy, particularly in those final panels of the issue. I find I'm just a lot more invested in the character now. I liked what Williamson was doing with the character up to this point, but this book makes Cobra Commander seem inhuman, almost more a force of nature than man, and cements him as my favorite villain in the Energon universe that we've seen so far. He exudes power and menace in this issue in a way that is going to make it a blast to follow along on his quest for world domination. And there are some cool teases in this issue. Zartan is referenced as being undercover somewhere. I'm wondering where we'll see him crop up. The recently announced Scarlet miniseries, perhaps? Or Destro? Both? Neither? I don't know. A doctor is referenced as well, and my mind immediately went to mad scientists Dr. Mindbender and Dr. Venom that could potentially be collaborating with the Dreadnoks, but it could just as easily be a civilian doctor, either a new or previously created character who is working with the gang willingly or otherwise, and we finally get confirmation on the identity of the commander's bodyguard. And it happens in this really killer image of him shedding his human disguise, revealing that he is, in fact, Nemesis Enforcer. Not necessarily a surprise, but cool to finally get confirmation and to see him make an appearance. Although I guess the appearance of the character here does pretty much shoot down a theory that was floating around that I happen to like, that being that Energon mutation might be behind some of the odd physical features about some of the denizens of cobra-la, such as Nemesis Enforcer's wings, or, well, most of Globulus. But what are you gonna do? Maybe Globulus could still be changed somehow, but I'm less optimistic about it after this issue. Regardless, I like the way Nemesis Enforcer is drawn here. He looks like a complete beast. And it seems like he's going to tear through the Dreadnoks like they were made out of paper. I'd be surprised if the creative team offs the named Dreadnoks here, but there were plenty of unnamed members shown earlier, so it seems like a safe bet that most, if not all of these red shirt Dreadnoks, dread shirts, will bite the big one, probably have their arms ripped off since that seems to be Skybound's fetish. But this could be a cool way of bringing the Dreadnoks to heel, so to speak, with Cobra Commander sparing the survivors in exchange for their allegiance, and maybe physical labor in carting off the Energon. This would be a nice way to add some tension and resentment into the alliance of disparate factions and subgroups that tend to make up Cobra, but obviously I'm just speculating. The G.I. Joe fan in me is sitting back and just taking it all in, but the Transformers fan in me is impatiently waiting to get to the bits with the Energon. It's all understandably at the periphery right now and seems to be building towards a nice crest, but I want answers now, damn it, especially since it seems like it's not just the alligators, but the snake at the beginning of the issue also seems affected by the Energon. I feel like there's a much bigger story to be told here about how Energon is affecting the ecosystem, but the creators are taking their time and keeping us on the hook to see it play out. Oh, and the Dreadnoks have an Energon cube. How did they get the Energon into cube form? Excellent question. One that the creators blow right past in this issue with no intention of answering, meaning that we'll just have to wait to find out. Skybound, you tease. Overall, though, this was the most compelling issue of Cobra Commander so far, in my opinion. Admittedly, it's hard to match the brain-melting reveal of Cobra-La and Megatron from the first issue, but as far as my overall feeling of investment with the character goes, this is the strongest that feeling has been so far. I am with this character, and I'm more than ready to follow this iteration of Cobra Commander on his demented journey and to see where it leads him. I appreciate how well this book is setting up the character of the Commander and how it appears, more than any of the other Energon Universe titles, to skew slightly older, with the violence and copious explosions of blood setting it apart from its fellow titles. But it's ultimately not afraid to have fun with the concept, so it's also not overly grim or serious. It's just good stuff. Bring on issue 4. I'm ready. And that's all from me on this one, so I'll turn it over to you. Curious to hear what you're all thinking about this issue. Share your thoughts in the comments, like, subscribe, share, you know the drill. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. It's always greatly appreciated, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.